Welcome. I'm Mayor Gary Sulz, and with me today is Stephen DeRousie, Chief of the Revelstoke Fire Rescue Services. Today, Stephen and I are discussing a few different topics: the burning bylaw, emergency response plans, and FireSmart. So, Stephen, tell me about the burning bylaw. What type of outdoor burning is and isn't allowed, and why?
The fire protection bylaw basically sets out what you can and can't do as far as burning is concerned in the city. Um, Special occasion fires, which is a campfire, burning firewood, just like you would use in your wood stove in the house, is permitted under certain conditions,
Right.
as long as there's not a fire ban in effect. Um, the backyard debris, garden waste, and land clearing debris is a no-go. That's been prohibited in the city way back since 2006, when council passed an amending bylaw to ban all open air burning in the city of Revelstoke. This was at the request of the province,
Right.
and primarily the concern was the limiting the air pollution, because we're in a valley here. We're in a high sensitivity smoke zone and with very poor venting. So they wanted to make sure that they were limiting that. So council was forethinking in that, did the right thing. As far as yard and garden waste, if people have yard and garden waste to get rid of, they can take to the landfill for no charge,
Yeah.
as long as it's a personal amount. If you're a contractor, a commercial operator, or doing land clearing, you'll have to pay a disposal fee or dispose of it some other way, because burning it in Revelstoke is not permitted.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about, so I've done all my tree trimming, and I've got my utility trailer loaded with all the stuff. It's going to the landfill. So
Yeah.
for me, because it's my personal stuff, there's no cost when I get there, and I get to offload it, and I'm not, creating any hazard that way. When I'm thinking about backyard burning, Stephen, we're talking about what we call special occasion fires. And so for us in our house, we have the propane stove versus burning firewood.
Excellent.
And, that way we can turn it off, but also it's not creating any problems. And I'm assuming that that would be a preferred way of burning in the backyard versus having a wood fire. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It's much safer. It's an appliance that's been tested for fire safety. The other thing that you mentioned, that you can just turn it off if a problem does occur. One of the good things is that they don't throw any sparks, and they don't leave any hot embers after you've finished your special occasion fire.
Right.
So that's an excellent way to go.
Yeah, and I like that, and I just encourage the community, if they can do that sort of thing, then that's a great way of doing it. One thing I see problematic definitely in my neighborhood is my wife hangs her clothes on the line,
Right.
and there's nothing more frustrating than clothes being out on the line and then somebody in the neighborhood's using firewood for their special occasion fire. Is there any rules or regulations regarding that sort of thing? So if somebody has clothes on the line, you shouldn't be, I know common sense says you shouldn't be doing that, but maybe people really aren't paying attention. So
It's one of the challenges, being a good neighbor.
right.
Being a good neighbor means thinking about the consequences of your actions on your neighbors. And like you say, especially if you're burning greenwood,
Right.
or leaves or grass, which is not permitted,
Yeah.
those create noxious smoke. And that's a negative impact to your neighbor. So being a good neighbor means thinking about that, maybe getting the propane campfire. An alternative to the propane campfire with a 20-pound cylinder is, we have propane in town. You could actually plug it right into your home propane. You never run out. You can enjoy it whenever you want, and no impact to the neighbor. So definitely think about the impact of your actions on your neighbors, and everybody should be a good neighbor.
Great. Well, appreciate that. So what's been happening in terms of city's emergency response plans, and where are we with that?
We started a review a little while back, and that started with HRVA, the Hazard and Vulnerability Risk Analysis. So we've got that completed. Council received that not too long ago.
Right.
And so what we're doing now is we're reviewing the emergency response plans. And so the HRVA will feed into that as well. And we're using the new templates from the province. So we're bringing all that up to date, using what we've learned since the last update, which is a number of years ago. And so now we'll be able to create new response plans. We don't anticipate big changes, but there's going to be some updates. There's been some changes to how the city has been developing. So we want to take those into account too. I anticipate it's probably going to go into 2024. So we're not rushing through this. We want to be careful and take our time and make sure we've accounted for everything that needs to be.
So that kind of takes us, a year down the road to say, okay, here's a concise plan. This is what we're doing. So when we're talking about emergency response, so we're preparing for any kind of emergency, whether it be fire, flood, or anything else that we're on the Trans-Canada Highway, any other thing that can come up. So that's kind of the basis and the input to that whole plan, correct?
Yeah, the plan basically will give us the plan to respond to any anticipated emergency that might impact Revelstoke. The other thing it will do is give us the response to those emergencies and the recovery plan.
Okay.
So there's always a recovery after an emergency comes through, whether it's a flood, a fire, or an extreme heat event. That could qualify as well.
So we're just going into extreme heat, or we're hearing that things are doing. So do you want to talk anything about that sort of thing at this point, Stephen?
Yes, actually, the city has just launched a survey as part of creating an extreme heat response plan. So there's a survey on the city website. If people can go and take the survey, it will really help us feed into those emergency response plans. So we'd appreciate it, anybody that can do that.
Great. And then, so this week, we're in the midst of Emergency Preparedness Week.
Yes.
Any comments, anything you want to mention about that?
Oh, I've got lots.
Okay.
So yes, May 7th to 13th is Emergency Preparedness Week. And one of the things that we'd like to remind people, when we're talking about emergency notifications, there's several types of venues that we can use. One is the Alert Ready, so that's the provincial and federal government level. Those are called intrusive alerts.
Right.
Those are the ones you get on your phone or the radio or the TV. And the intrusive part means you can't opt out. If you're on a smartphone connected to the network, you're going to get that.
Kind of what we saw a day or two ago, correct?
With the test,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why the test came out. It's Emergency Preparedness Week.
Right.
Those are really important for getting information to everyone quickly to save lives and property in a larger area. Now, we also have a local emergency alerting system. That's the Alertable app.
Right.
And so you have that on your phone. You sign up for the Revelstoke area. And we use that to provide local emergency alerts. Say we have local flooding that affects Revelstoke or an area in Area B. Flooding, fires, extreme heat events, those sorts of things. So we can use that for local. One of the things that when we decide, or how we decide to send an alert out, we always have to be really careful. We must consider that when we send an alert, we want to do it at the right level. Because we don't want to panic people unnecessarily, create anxiety or fear. So we don't send alerts out for everything. Only the ones that we truly believe are a threat to Revelstoke and the Area B that are going to impact people locally.
Right.
If it's not a high-level emergency, we'll probably post it on the city website, emergency management page at rvst.ca. And we'll also push it out on our Facebook and the city Instagram and that as well. So we really don't want to panic people. If it's not threatening the city, there might be a fire the next valley over. But if it's not a threat to Revelstoke, we'll provide the information, but we won't send an alert because we don't want people to panic. Absolutely.
And I think that's really the prudent choice. People won't panic with that. I know that lots of people in the community are very grateful to your social media feed. So they hear the sirens, they know the fire apparatus is going out, and they actually, in a very short time, know what's going on. And that seems to keep people calm. Okay, I know that I don't have to rush home. It's not my house. or also these are things that are happening outside the area, rescue trucks going out, whatever the case may be, and people are appreciative of that. And if it is in their concern, they're able to go home and deal with that sort of thing. So really do appreciate you doing that, Stephen. I think a lot of people are following that, and people are grateful for those sorts of things. So thanks for that. So
It does help people understand what's going on. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is how do people prepare,
right,
right? So if there's something happening, we may send out a notification, a low-level notification. But if there's something that goes out an alert that indicates that people need to get prepared or be prepared to evacuate, I've got a few tips here for people to be prepared.
okay,
So people need to know the hazards. So sign up for the Alertable app. That's the Revelstoke Emergency Notification. It's on your phone. It's free. Make a plan. Know where to go and how to get there. Build a grab-and-go bag with emergency supplies, enough for 72 hours at a minimum. Find local government guides or just BC government guides, resources, and learn what happens in an evacuation so that you have a basic understanding of what you can do in a large-scale event. Because in a large-scale event, everyone will need to help each other and themselves as much as possible.
yeah.
And for any more information, people can go to preparedbc.ca and find a wealth of information from the government.
And that's a really good website to go to if you
Absolutely.
want to figure out what you want to put in your grab and go bag. If you're going to build your own, they've got that listing there. There are other options where you can commercially buy them, whether it's that locally or on a website, Amazon, that sort of thing. Those sorts of things are there. I think the Red Cross prepares some stuff. So there's all kinds of ways for people to be prepared.
And don't forget your pets.
Absolutely.
Prepare for your pets.
Prepare for your pets. That's very prudent. So thank you for that. I think that's important. So having been involved with emergency support services over the years and seeing that, and so very few of us are prepared for those things unless we've experienced that. And so, please, people, go out, figure out what you need to take. Make sure you have a list of your medication, extra keys for your cars, take your medication, have all that, personal documents, all those sorts of things with you. It seems redundant sometimes, and it seems like, oh, that's a pain. But if you need it, you've got it. And that's a good thing. So, Stephen, can you tell me a little bit about FireSmart work and what you're doing and how the community should get involved?
Absolutely. So we received a grant from the Columbia Basin Trust to get our FireSmart program started.
Right.
We now have a local FireSmart representative available for Revelstoke. They can provide case-by-case assessments of properties in Revelstoke. The good news is it's free to homeowners. So that's great. If people are interested, I would highly recommend it. It's a great way to help protect your home and your property. One of the things is FireSmart recommendations can include things from FireSmart plants to FireSmart landscaping, all the way up to FireSmarting a street or a neighborhood.
Wow. Okay.
Does anyone want to be a neighborhood FireSmart champion? So it's a great way to reduce the risk to homes and neighborhoods from FireSmart activities. One thing that I wanted to mention was that this is not an all or nothing effort. This is something that people can start small and do one or two things this year or next year and continue to do additional things over the years to improve that. Statistics show that FireSmart homes and neighborhoods have a much higher opportunity or chance of surviving from the threat of a wildfire. Logan Lake is a perfect example. They did really good FireSmarting in the community, and that community survived.
Right.
Whereas some other communities last year we know were decimated. So this is something that people should consider to getting involved in. Even small changes around the home can have a huge impact. What was there? There's a couple other things. But yeah, if people want to learn more about FireSmart, and steps that you can take to protect your home or your neighborhood, give us a call at the fire hall, request an assessment from the local FireSmart representative, and we'd be happy to help.
And so if I want to be, the FireSmart champion of my neighborhood,
Right.
basically having a conversation with my neighbors, getting the FireSmart personnel in to kind of go through our neighborhood and say, these are the hazards, these are the positive things, and then and we can slowly work at getting that complete,
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah,
All right.
a FireSmart neighborhood recognition is a target to shoot for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I
If people
appreciate
want
that.
to get more information, they can visit firesmartbc.ca, and they've got tons and tons of information there as well.
Good. All right. I appreciate that.
Explore that.
Stephen, thanks for this incredibly valuable information for our community.
You're welcome.
I'm really grateful that we've had the opportunity to talk about this and share this with our citizens. So thank you again. Appreciate you coming in so that we can go over. And then I want to say thanks as well to our audience for listening in. Be sure to take a few minutes to watch our other videos on the City Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram accounts. And again, Stephen, thank you for doing this. Appreciate
You're
it.
most welcome.
Thank you. All right. Thanks.